Well, hello again, and welcome to the second episode of a podcast which looks at running, specifically running to improve your life if you feel you might be overweight, if you feel you might be old, if you feel that you're not fit, you're not athletic, oh, my knees might hurt, I might get dehydrated, I don't know what to eat or where. This is kind of the podcast for you. It's also, actually, thinking about it, the podcast for you if you do want to run and you are athletic and young and fit. You can also learn things from this. But the reason that we come from the standpoint of someone who doesn't naturally feel themselves as a runner is that both me and my friend Andrew, I'm Oliver, by the way, nice to meet you, are fall into that category, really. We're sort of older gentlemen. We were a bit overweight. Andrew is not
speak for yourself, Oliver.
Yeah, well, so I've got a little belly, but I'm working on it. Yeah, we both found running. Andrew a long time before me, but me really getting into it and want to spread the word. Andrew, does that about sum it up?
I think so, yes. I think older gentleman just about sums it up. And I feel like a future you, Oliver, a little bit.
Oh, God.
I feel like a future you.
That's a great place to head.
When did I start again? I started in 2018, and so I've just got a few years on you. So just a little bit more experience, not professionally taught or anything, but I've just read a lot of things about running. So I'm just you in about 5 years' time, Oliver. So your hair will be even more grey.
Well, for people listening, we are on video, and I'm looking at Andrew, and I'm thinking, yes, if that's me in a few years' time. So basically, Andrew, you've been running about, what did you say, 2016? So you must have been running 8 or 9 years. I've been running less than 18 months. So it's a nice difference between, basically a beginner and someone who's an intermediate getting into it. It's now starting to run races where you sort of mid to top of the field, but we'll talk about racing and going further later. This time, we're going to start about actually strapping on your shoes and getting out there. The last time we talked a little bit about our personal journeys. Again, I'm going to say journey as per the podcaster's charter, our journeys to running. But now we're going to actually start about practical things about getting yourself out of the door and what gives you that motivation, how you can maintain that motivation, what kit you need, common neurosis, and maybe we'll talk about some lifestyle changes towards the end. But Andrew, what got you out of the door in the first place back in 2016 or whenever it was?
Yeah, I think I covered a little bit about that in the first conversation we had, but essentially it was the fact that I was just getting a little bit heavier and feeling less and less fit and less strong as the years tick by. And I had always viewed running as something, I had a bit of a fascination for the idea of running. There's a movie, the American Will Wilford in London. I don't know if you remember that movie. There's a scene when the male protagonist is running through the forest naked. And while I didn't really have any aspirations to run through a forest naked, I did like the idea of the sort of getting back to nature and the running in the countryside, and that was always something that was quite attractive to me. But didn't like the idea of running per se, and had really learnt over many years that running was something that fit people did and not for big people and overweight people like me. So what started me off on the journey was really I just can't think of anything else to do. I sort of ran out of ideas. The cycling wasn't working, so I just decided that what is there else to lose. I sort of like the idea of it, but let's just give it a go. And I think I heard about Couch to 5K, which seemed to answer lots of sort of difficult questions about how do I even start.
Yeah, I would not have started in any sense if I'd not known you for years and you hadn't bust my balls for years to get me going, because I gave all those excuses. I'm too fat, I'm not fit, my legs are spindly, I've heard it's bad on the knees because we run on concrete, all these things that we discussed last time. And I, like you, eventually, because of you rather than because of my own self-motivation, I downloaded the Couch to 5K from the NHS, I think it is, like you said last time, app, and started there, and it worked, and it's worked for pretty much everybody I've ever spoken to.
Well, we all know people, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, you knew people before I had probably mentioned it. I knew people before I'd heard of it. It's just out there in the world, isn't it? It's out there in the ether, and you just overhear, you hear a conversation. Somebody started Couch to 5K. You very rarely hear about failures. It just seems to be working well. So that sort of answers some of the questions about how do I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on groups when I was doing it, and I was quite pleased how I was progressing. And there are people who really, really struggle. But then what you find is that they're just not progressing at the right pace. They're just progressing slower than more people would do. So even if you struggle with Couch to 5K, that's absolutely not a disgrace because you're doing it. The victory is getting out there and running. We'll mention that in a while. And if you have to redo a week, that's still a victory. Every run, every time you put a foot in front of the other, more than walking, is a victory. And that's what I discovered. And there's loads of support groups out there for people who are struggling, people who are not struggling, and then people who want to go straight from 5K to 10K. And the thing about it as well, I think you sort of implied it, is the simplicity of it and the natural nature of running as an exercise, as a way to keep fit. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't need any kit. We'll talk about kit. You can just put on your boots and get on with it, your running shoes, sorry, and get on with it. And that's what I quite liked. From the first minute I marched out in April 2024, I marched out down the road and thought, oh, this is quite nice. And I did my first 60 seconds or whatever they make you do. And I thought, actually, that was hard, but I'm not dead. That's crazy.
You're not dead, are you? I wasn't dead either. I was just wondering what because I remember going on and on and on at you to the point where you were getting quite cross and thinking, at what point do I just give up, or what point?
Well, you're unflappable. You're unflappable. You can say, "Shut up, Andrew," and you can go, I'll shut up. I mean, it really is easy starting running, and it's
What were the things? And I just wonder what really questions yourself as well as you is when you're pondering about how to start and should you start, what were the reasons which you were coming up with why you shouldn't run, and how did we get around those reasons? And one of the reasons for me, and I see what you think about that, was that I had tried it before and it hadn't worked. I've tried it a couple of times, it hadn't worked. So I was just thinking, I just don't really know what to do. I think I'm doing the wrong thing. And that's where Couch to 5K just filled in that gap. There's no longer any reason to come up with why it won't work, because it's working for tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people even.
So mine is very similar in that it was all about barriers to entry. In my mind, I know, I'm in my mid to late 50s. In my mind, I know I've got to do something to keep moving, to make this body of mine, imperfect as it is, but wonderful, work to keep fit. I've got to do some proper maintenance like you have on a house after a while. So a brand new build house will look sparkling and be fairly functional for many, many years. And then things will start to happen and you've got to do something. So it's barriers to entry falling down. So barrier to entry is if I have to travel before I have to start exercising, or if I have to have loads of kit, if I have to do it around other people. Actually, it was a bit of I don't really want to go to the gym, I don't really want to play football because I could get injured, all these things. And then suddenly swimming, you've got to go swimming, and it's all a bit chilly when you get out as well. And I think it was probably listening to celebrity endorsements, and obviously you. And Jo Wiley did it for me, because I always assumed that Jo Wiley was quite an athletic, fit person. She's kind of slim and she looks like she might be quite sporty. And she said, I hated running at school because I thought it was absolutely awful and I was always last. And I was like, hello, Jo, you're speaking to me here, because that's how I felt, because I wasn't, overweight, or I wasn't very smaller than everybody else. I just absolutely hated it. And she said, I hate the idea of not being able to breathe and being out of breath. But Couch to 5K is the thing, and that's probably what did it. And then I put my running shoes on, which were very dusty, and I've since got new ones, and just did it. And once you've done it, I quite like the way that it was laid out for me as to what to do today. In fact, what to do in this next 60 seconds. And I found that really good. And I found it was a real reward when you managed to do the course. You managed to last the course, and you thought, hang on a minute, maybe I'm not rubbish. Maybe I'm merely just slightly below average. And yeah, that's what it is. So low barriers to entry, celebrity endorsement, you busting my nuts, and me liking it straight away, and the progress you can see on the app every day, and you've still got the right to repeat weeks if you need to.
Yeah, I know. I had a little bit of a wobble about knowing where to run, and I had a thought that I had to have a 5K course set out. And I remember going into Google Earth and using
That is
the
very
app
Andrew. Yeah.
to plot out a course that was exactly 5K, and then I realised actually that's not necessary at all, because it's all based around time. So Couch to 5K has you covered, and literally you can just run in circles if you want in the garden, or you can run around the block, or you don't have to have a route planned out. If it does end up back near your house, then that's helpful. It doesn't have to. You can walk back.
Well, what I did was simply run for the first half and then turn around and then run back. And that worked really well, because you're back in the right place for your warm down, which in Couch to 5K, this is very important to have a warm up and a warm down, is simply a walk with some stretches. But it's the walk before and the walk after that are really important. It's a brisk walk, and that's your warm down and your warm up, and you can do some stretches. And touch wood, I've had aches and pains, ligament stretch and calf ache and a thigh ache, and even my arms ached, and I thought, I'm not on all fours. But touch wood, and I'm literally touching wood, no serious injuries. I guess something will happen eventually, because someone in your late 50s, you're pushing it a bit. But if you take it gently, you warm up and you warm down, you're in a good place for not getting injuries. If you're worried about it, obviously seek medical advice before you do this thing, because it's a bit of a strain on your body.
Yeah.
But I found that course, going out and then coming back again, allowed me to have the right amount of time on my warm up and warm down.
Yeah, I think on the safety point, isn't that baked into Couch to 5K? I think the app takes you through some things you should be considering about whether or not you should get a medical check. So essentially, what we're having a conversation about how Couch to 5K worked for us, and how we felt in safe hands, and really that's the message. So as long as you follow the advice and you are appropriately healthy, then it should work for everyone. Really?
Yeah, safe hands is a good one. And something about Joe Wiley as well. Several celebrities, we mentioned this last time, several celebrities you can choose from. And she did it for me for some reason. I mean, I sort of admire her music taste as well, and that helped.
Have you spoken to her about it at all?
No, I have not. She doesn't return my calls since that stalking incident.
That's upsetting.
It was, I forgot the name. What's the name? I'm forgetting things now. My body's getting better. My mind's getting worse. The big festival that everybody goes to, that everybody talks about, and I've forgotten it. It's ridiculous. Glastonbury, that's the one. Anyway, the gag's gone now. And the other thing was the awkward feeling of putting one foot in front of the other. That did last for my first Couch to 5K session. It was like, this is weird. I haven't done this since school, and I'm an old man now, and I'm just running. How odd. Don't worry about that, would be my advice, because you really get over it quickly, and you develop your own style with which you're comfortable, and you realise that the world does not give two hoots about what you're up to in your running shoes. So the advice to that one is get over it and just do it. And on the subject of running shoes, right, I just had some shoes that I'd played squash in, and I just slung them on. But I think of all the kit, of which is completely minimal, probably getting some running shoes is a good idea, I'd have thought.
I think so, yeah. This is a complicated subject, and even a bit of a political subject commercially, and there are different ideas about whether running shoes should be very bouncy and built up, or whether they should not be very bouncy and very thin and minimalist. There are some views that say that shoes that are less supportive strengthen your feet, and shoes that are more supportive don't do that. But I think at this stage you can read all the information in the coming months and years. I wouldn't worry about any of the the complexities around running shoes. Any sports type shoes which you've got which are big enough for your feet. And I think the only thing I would say is that it's important to get to have shoes that are big enough for your feet, and the shoes that you run in often need to be slightly looser than shoes that you would walk in. I found that my toes tended to get a bit stubbed, Oliver. I'm not sure if you found that, but generally speaking, if you're using any trainers that you've got around the house which fit and your toes aren't jammed up against the end of them, that'll be fine.
So I chose a set that was recommended by you. A set, is that right? A pair, probably. A pair that was recommended by you, and I noticed how wide they were at the end. And I thought, oh, that's odd. They didn't look like running shoes, because running shoes just look like shoes normally. And as a result, I put them on, and I did my first run in them, and they were so comfy. Why? Because my toes had space to splay. And there's plenty of weight for them to carry. So my toes splayed. I could sort of feel it, and they were so comfortable. And they still have zero foot issues have I had with those trainers that you recommended. Which
those
you probably know.
Were they the Ultra Escalantes?
Yeah, the 3, I think, Mark 3, I think.
Yes.
And they were like 80 quid. And I thought, that's actually quite a lot of money, which was coming from Yorkshire, made me think, well, I'm going to use these. And so I have, and I've run with them for about a year now, 3 times, and they are excellent. So ridiculously comfy.
Yes,
I can't believe
great.
it.
Yeah,
it's like floating on air.
Any sports type shoes which fit your feet properly are going to be fine, I think. And then in the months and years to come, then you can experiment, or people can experiment with what shoes they want, either more supportive or less supportive. But really, I think what we're saying is gear is no barrier to entry of any kind. So so long as you're not going to actually run naked, if you can throw on a pair of shorts or a skirt, if that's what you want to wear, and some shoes that fit you, you can run.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I wear a nice headscarf because I sweat a lot and I haven't got that much hair. That's my thing. I quite like having a headscarf on, and of course it doesn't sweat so much. Although in the summer, my word, even that the headscarf is absolutely full of sweat.
So I'm picturing a sort of 50s film star with the dark glasses, the sort of blonde film star that's the kind of headscarf you mean, is it?
Well, not blonde due to aforementioned lack of hair, but no, more like I don't know, more like it's hard to describe really, but certainly not approaching any kind of film star, not in a leading man role. Anyway.
Okay.
The other thing is that running helps with is because the barrier to entry to start is low, but the barrier to entry to doing any run is low. Is that I'm going for a run after this, right? And I do not feel like it. I feel tired. I've had quite a lot on today, dealing with my father's finances, which are complex and completely incomprehensible to him, sadly. And I just don't feel like it. However, you just go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll put my shoes on, I'll go outside and see what happens. And every single time I've started, I've always finished. I've never, in the depths of winter or even the heat of summer, sometimes in the heat of summer I've had to walk, never not done my 5K or my half hour, whichever comes last. So just get out there. I'm as lazy as the next man and unmotivated and unathletic, and yet just get out there. If it's cold, make sure you've got enough on. If it's hot, make sure you're wearing a vest, and just get on, start jogging. The first kilometre, your body might say, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're a management consultant, you idiot. You're a management consultant and you're ancient. Stop it. Then after a kilometre, normally your body will go, God, you're serious about this, aren't you?
That feels very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's something which I've noticed. Again, it works for me. It may not work for you or everyone, but there is something about that first kilometre which feels a bit difficult. So what I do, which is part of my warm-up routine, is I just jog on the spot and I count to 100. Just 100 steps,
really?
And then I'll give it a pause, and then I'll do I'll do some stretches and a little bit of strength and a little bit of core exercise, and then I'll do another one of those. I just jog on the spot. Second time, I'll be lifting my knees a little bit higher and just putting a bit more effort into it. And from the start of doing those exercises, the first set to the end of the second set, there's an unbelievable change in how your body's starting to say, are you serious? Are you really thinking of running? And you don't feel that great. And then quite quickly, everything starts to activate.
That's a brilliant tip.
And that it's amazing once you've experienced the process of your body preparing to exercise and run, and muscles starting to activate, and things muscles getting pumped up with blood, etc. It seems to work very well. It seems to work very well for me anyway.
That's a really good tip. I've never tried that. I mean, mine is just because I've got used to it now. First kilometre, you think, what the hell are you doing? What is this? This is ridiculous. It's not very nice. And then I just tend to run through it. And then the second kilometre becomes better. But what you described sounds like a very good idea. Let's talk about progress. Let's talk about what to expect and what it feels like. And I think the first point I would make is don't expect anything. There will be progress. It's almost inevitable because you're doing something which is good for your body, but don't set yourself any targets other than to do the couch to 5K and then continue to run after that. And it's habit forming. So if I don't run 3 times a week, it's not that I feel antsy. I just feel like I've sort of let myself down a little bit because now that's what I do for my exercise. I run 3 times a week. If I don't run 3 times a week, then I really have let myself down. And when it comes to progress, it's been completely non-linear. And sometimes I've flown and think, my God, I'm Steve Cram. And sometimes I've taken a minute longer to do a 5K than I did the day before. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. This is it. This is the slow road to death at the age of 61. Obviously, both are nonsense. And I think, as Rudyard Kipling would say about defeat and victory, you treat both those imposters just the same. And I think that's the point, really. If you're doing well, well done. If you're getting slower or it's harder, don't worry about it. You did a run today, and that's a victory.
Absolutely, yes. I think... I guess it's going to be different for different people. I think for me, I was so amazed that I could run at all. Every new run that I did felt like progress to me, and that was one more run that I could tick off. I remember feeling better. I'm not necessarily transformed as a human into a great athlete, but I just remember tiny things like I felt it was easier to get out of a couch. I felt I'm slightly asthmatic, and I felt that my breathing just got a bit deeper and a bit slower and just a bit freer. I remember starting to use my inhaler less. So there was a general feeling of strength, which sort of creates a virtuous circle in a way. So the more you run, the better you feel. The more you want to run. And something else which my wife mentions a lot at the time and still does actually is the impact on stress and mental health. My wife is a busy local GP, and she finds that the act of running and the discipline of running and the fact that you're doing something just for yourself, you can just set out and run. Nothing else can come and get you. All you have to do is run for the time you're out there, and it's a little bit of not safe space, but it's just a protected space where you can just do something for yourself that you know is good, and it's an incredible thing.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not. I sometimes think that kind of talk is a bit hippy dippy and stuff, but you're absolutely right, actually. And it's that mindfulness is a very popular thing these days. But I sort of get it now. You're out there, you're running. I run by a river, like I think I said last time, and it's kind of beautiful. And sometimes the sun is shining and twinkling off the water, and the boats are bobbing up and down. And you've also got this feeling of, our ancestors used to run, and they used to run together. And it's sort of what we are designed to do in a way. And sort of that was another piece of unexpected progress. The fact that I got into that slightly mindfulness state, which made me feel good. The other thing about progress, you talk about asthma. It's a good one. I'm not asthmatic, but what I did find is that my lungs felt exercised, which is a bit odd. It felt like they had probably a bigger capacity and they were probably working better. And what I did find and still find, and this is really nice, is my recovery time is shortened. So when I first did the Couch to 5K, even though it's not that stressful or straining on the body, it took a long time to get my breath back and to feel normal and to be able to talk. Whereas now it happens within just a couple of minutes, even after a 5K, I have recovered. And that, again, for a 59-year-old body, you think, isn't that remarkable that you can improve so much by doing something relatively easy. Yeah, it's always hard work, of course, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. But to think my body has come on so much that although I'm running at the same pace, the recovery is unbelievably quicker. And then the endorphin rush, which is definitely not a myth. I mean, you don't feel high, or you don't feel like you've had 3 drinks of champagne or whatever, but there is something that comes out and floods through your body, which says, "Hey, I feel chill." And that's not to be underestimated.
No, yeah, it's quite heartening, as you say, to be in our late 50s and to find something to do with exercise where you're improving, actually. And I think I've been doing this a few years, and I still think I'm still just about improving. I'm still hoping to run a faster 5K. I'm still hoping to run a faster 10K. And I started, I can't remember the exact year, but I would have been 55, something like that. So I guess there will become a point when I will plateau and start to slow decline as I go into my 60s and 70s. But at the moment, I still feel that there's hope for improvement.
Yeah, indeed, and that you're absolutely right. Very few sports you're going to. If we took up American football, we'd probably not get better. Or MMA, we'd probably not get better as we age.
And I think that is a shock, actually, Oliver. But never mind.
Yeah, but they do say, don't look for your lifetime best. Look for your year's best. Your the best you've done this year, for example, when you're measuring progress. But to me, the progress comes in unexpected ways, not necessarily faster, but easier. Your mind is starting to feel better. The endorphins you miss if you don't have them, and your habit forming as well. So you've got this habit, and habits don't take that long to form. I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever the psychologists say. And once you form that habit, running is one of the things you do, and you find time for it. There isn't such a thing as I'm too busy to run, because it's like saying I'm too busy to clean my teeth, or I'm too busy to feed my children. It's just one of those essentials that I was going to say defines you, but that's probably getting a little bit much. And the other crucial thing that you've taught me, you're better at this than I am, but that is patience, particularly at our age. Remember, our bodies have been on this planet growing, but then slowly declining for half a century. And so it is going to take time, and it's going to go up and down, and you've got to be patient. We're not 25 anymore. But if you are patient, the changes are almost inevitable. So you talked about your body transforming, and I'm starting to imagine that mine might be when I look at myself in the mirror. And what I've noticed is my arms look slightly more toned, from little spindly things with no muscle to there's something there when I clench my arm.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
And it's just like, that was a real surprise. So I guess don't look for things and get discouraged if they don't come, but something nice will happen. I think that's something we can absolutely guarantee. If you do the Couch to 5K and then keep on running, something nice will happen to your body, to your mind, to your speed, and probably to all three.
Yes, I think, and something else which is interesting with some of that, and we can probably touch on this in future conversations, but if you're the kind of person who likes information and data and finding out and having tangible pieces of information on how you might be improving, then smart devices and watches and rings and all of that can be quite helpful. And you can see things like your resting heart rate. If you keep running 5Ks a week for a year, your resting heart rate will drop a lot. I think mine is down in the around 50 at the moment.
Wow.
The sort
of
low,
good for our age.
It drops into the high 40s if I'm training hard, and the more you exercise, and the more those sort of things will happen. And if you find that motivating, that's great. If you think you might find it motivating, then it's better to have these devices sooner, because you will then have a chance to see those changes taking place over time. So the adaptations which will be starting to happen, you'll be able to see those in the data if that's something which you find motivating.
It's a very good point. I mean, we're saying that don't look for targets specifically. However, both Andrew and I love our data. We did very similar jobs as each other in the IT industry. So we do love our data, and we between us, I think we've got pretty much the gamut of devices. I've got the Aura Ring, you've got the Garmin, I think, is that right? Yeah,
I've got the Garmin, various bits
which is
of
the
Garmin.
absolute standard. And we're all, obviously we're on Strava. So you can, and I have got graphs coming out of my backside with regard how I'm doing. And if I'm doing badly on one variable, I always put in another variable. My blood pressure has gone down a little bit. And here's something about the virtuous circle, right, that you guided me through. You get to a point with your running and you think, how can I improve? Oh, I know how I can improve. I can stop lugging around this 10 kilogram of belly that I don't actually need, which is just sitting there waiting for 3 winters of no harvest, which are never going to come, right? So it was a real motivator for me to properly start thinking about losing weight. Again, it hasn't happened. My times haven't improved, but my weight has gone down like 8 kilograms, slightly more. That is something. And the motivation for that is not just feeling and looking better and more blood pressure reduction. It's, hey, it'll make my running easier. So that's a sort of measure of how I've come from not thinking about running at all, except when I'm having a drink with Andrew, to, hang on a minute, the fact that I run is now driving other good behaviours in my life.
Yeah, these are the wonderful sort of virtuous circles of running, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you were to pick up 8 kilograms and take that for a run, Oliver, I think you'd be noticing it.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I had a bag of coal.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't run with it. I just picked it up and went, blimey, my horrible, horrible gut. Because like we've talked about, your weight distribution is quite even. Mine is not. I'm like a skinny bloke who's sort of 8 months pregnant. You know the look. You've seen it yourselves on beaches up and down England. That was me, but less so. But still a long way to go. And talking of lifestyle changes, actually, I mean, we could talk about diet as well, because again, I think, I wonder what kind of food I need to fuel my next 5K, or I wonder what kind of food I need to help me lose weight, but still have energy in order to do my running. So sort of running comes front and center about what defines my looking after my body, and then things come out
Incredible.
From that. So just hang on a minute. I think I probably need to eat less sugar, or I probably need to do this. And you're very good on this because you're obsessive is a horrible word, but you do a lot of reading, let's say.
I probably struggle with this, probably more than you, Oliver. As I probably mentioned on the last conversation, my BMI was north of 30. So I've been flirting with diets for 25 years. So you can see how good I am at them, how many I've tried. So it's a very complicated subject and not easy to sum up. But if there was a soundbite, it's probably to do with not ingesting lots of simple carbohydrates, and simple carbohydrates are going to be things like sugar and potatoes and rice and white things, unless you're going to be doing lots of very, very strenuous exercise. Eating simple carbohydrates as part of your day-to-day life, if you are sedentary, is going to help you be heavier quite quickly.
The one thing you told me, which was startling, everyone likes potatoes since Walter Raleigh introduced them to us in the Tudor Times, but they're I don't think you said poison, but you said they're sugar or something like that.
This is a complicated and controversial subject, and there's the whole different diet movements. There's the whole low-carb keto diet movement that would absolutely be on board with all of that. There are the more calorie-focused traditional diets which wouldn't be on board with that. Then there are other diets which tend to just try for more balanced foods that may take a middle path. So it's difficult to come up with a simple answer. For me, what worked for me by far the best was emphasising good carbohydrates, and good carbohydrates are the complex carbohydrates, things like vegetables and beans and pulses, and to a certain extent pasta, which take longer to break down and don't give big sugar spikes and don't promote fat to be laid down as much as eating just sugary things and also white carbohydrates. So complicated subject, but if you're going to run, you're going to be burning more energy than you would otherwise do. But I guess the slightly less good news is how much you have to run in order to burn a few hundred calories. I don't have the numbers exactly in my head, but if you run a 5k, that's probably something like half a Mars bar. So if you do your park run and then go straight off to the local cafe and have a full English, it's not really going to be helping. So if you're running nice slow 5ks with a relatively modest heart rate, you don't actually have to fuel at all. Your body's completely capable of dealing with all of that without any fueling. If you're going to run hard and anaerobically with a very high heart rate, then you might need to think about fueling. But really, in these early months, it's probably going to be more about just eating healthily and not worrying too much about it. But if you can cut out things like sugar, that's going to be a big help.
Yeah, I think for what we're talking about and what I'm still talking about at my level of running is that sort of maintenance. What can I eat that's healthy and is going to lose me a bit of weight? I don't really ever run so seriously. In fact, I definitely never run so seriously that I'm going to need a massive intake of energy to keep me going. And the other thing that we touched on last time, which is such a motivator for me, is if I'm running in the lower heart rate zones, so I'm running aerobically, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm burning fat. So I'm thinking as I'm waddling along, or even actually jog, or even running along, I think every pace, a little tiny bit of fat is having to be burnt by my body, and my body's going, "Oh, this is a real effort." And I'm like saying, "Well, you've got no option. You've got no fuel, so you're going to have to burn that belly, which you've so beautifully stored up for those 3."
Slight caveat. So long as you haven't had a load of glucose tablets,
yes, good point.
Because your body will prefer that. But if you're running on a more protein-based, less or zero sugar type of breakfast, and then you're running a couple of hours after that, then your body will prefer to use its own body fat, by and large.
So I think. Yeah, no, you're right. Again, you keep telling me this. So actually, running on an empty stomach sometimes thinks counterintuitive. It's something like your mother would tell you not to do. She'd probably say something like stomach cramps or something. I don't know if that was an old one. Stomach cramps, don't run on an empty stomach. But actually, it might, A, you're not going to die. And B, it might actually be a good thing because your body will have no option other than to burn your horrible body fat.
I mean, I'm not saying it will feel completely amazing. So if you take a glucose gel full of caffeine, that's going to make you feel pretty amazing, and it's going to help you run faster, especially at high heart rates. But if you are running if you're a trained runner and you're running a slow run and you're running fasted, you are helping to get your body used to using its own fuel, its own fat reserves. That's what that's for.
Yeah, and in terms of motivation, I'm totally okay with not feeling super tip-top because I've got an empty stomach. The payback being that, in my mind, little globules of fat are being burnt. In my crazy mind, they're literally being stoked by little men into a boiler unit to heat up steam that powers my legs or something. I've got a feeling that biologically that's not quite correct, but in my mind, it makes me feel like
it sounds like it should be. It should be that, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should, doesn't it? So it sounds like a Terry Gilliam kind of film. I think maybe the last chunk I feel we should talk about parkrun in terms of motivation. I don't know what you feel about that. Hopefully you agree, because parkrun is this thing, and we'll hopefully have an episode dedicated to parkrun, how it's happened, how it's grown, how it's helping people, etc. It's a global phenomenon now, except in France where they've got some stupid rule why it can't apply, which is just typical of France. But basically, parkrun is you go to a park, hopefully near you, and with a load of other people, from about a dozen to about 1,000, you run. And you run for 5k, and these wonderful people in high-vis marshal you, and these other wonderful people in high-vis time you, and you get a position of how you've come, and you get your timing, which you can look up on the internet after, and it is without a doubt one of the most fabulous things I've ever done, having not wanted to do it at all because I'll be too slow, I'll be too fat, people will be judging me, everyone will be faster than me, it'll be awful. And it's absolutely none of those things. It's one of the most wonderful community things that you could imagine doing. God, I sound like a hippie again. And it's basically everybody coming together from far and wide to run together. There's something almost primeval about it, in that I mean, there's no gazelle to chase generally, but you are all running around a park, even if it's wet or if it's sunny. You're all doing the same thing, encouraging each other, and you find your tribe. So I tend to run with women normally because I'm a slow man. So that makes me a slightly worse than average woman. That we're in the same sort of running groups, and you sort of get to know each other, and you encourage each other. And one day she'll win, and the next day she won't win, and we're just motivating and growing together, and it's a wonderful experience. And Andrew, I know you haven't done as much, but you are a massive fan.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think I only did my first park run about a year ago, actually, and partly because it didn't synchronise up with our schedule, which we'd set from Couch to 5K. So we just don't run on a Saturday, and that became our religion, our running days, and it just wasn't a Saturday. But I did go along to one or two when I was training for a 10K last year, yeah, and more this year. And it is the most incredible thing. And what I think the most amazing thing about it is simply the range of different experiences, and the range of abilities, and the inclusiveness of it all. And I don't think anyone feels that they have to that they have to feel silly, or that they're doing the wrong thing, or they, it's just very, very accessible. And there's a wonderful atmosphere as well, and I think the running, unless you're in the sort of area where you're going to win a park run, there will be people faster than you, which means there'll be people a little bit faster than you, which means you can try and run people down, which is as in not physically stamp over the Oliver. I think you got that. Yeah. You can try and chase them, and actually just having that extra piece of adrenaline where you can follow someone and say, I'm going to get that person's just gone past me, and that can't be allowed to have happened, and that can really increase your pace, increase your speed. Actually, it's incredible what that can do to your mind.
Yeah, you will find your times at parkrun are faster than your times at not parkrun if you're keeping the stats, which is quite interesting, isn't it? It's like I met Jonathan Edwards, a triple jumper once, who broke the record 30 years ago with that incredible jump. I can't remember where it was, somewhere in Europe. And I said to him, you must have jumped further than that in practice. And he said, God, no, I've never come anywhere near that in practice.
Yeah.
You actually need the competition, you need the crowd, and you need that event, which is very odd part of human nature, that we're still so susceptible to the drugs coursing through us, the adrenaline coursing through us when there are other people watching. So you do your best times generally during the park run. Parkrun.org, I think, one word, but it's quite easy to find. That is such a wonderful thing. And I took quite a long time before I went to my first one because of all these neuroses. And as soon as I went, there's so many people there who it's the big part of their weekend. They take place almost exclusively 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
So do you do that every week, or Oliver? Is that?
I do that pretty much every week now. And when I'm away in the UK, I find a park run and I do it. So I did one in Skipton, North Yorkshire, with all my siblings. I say all my siblings, my 3 siblings. And my brother came first, and I came fourth out of 4. My 2 sisters both creamed me. And instead of being miserable about it, I was just proud of them, because they don't even run that much. And one's older and one's younger, so there's no excuse there. But it was just a family of 4 of us. We hadn't run together since we were running around the garden, aged, 12 to 2. But it was lovely. Parkrun, it's absolutely wonderful. And I'm not normally so romantic or sentimental, but you just see people who just come there, and you wonder whether these people have other problems in their lives. You get people who seem quite neurodiverse at parkrun, and running's their thing, and they're part of the club, and we're all in it together, and it's wonderful. I was collapsed the other day because I'd really gone for it to try and beat a 20-stone man who actually beat me, and he leaned over and said, are you all right, mate? And I thought, maybe I've overdone it if this guy is worried about my purple face. So just be warned, you can get a bit competitive, but no one cares. It's a wonderful thing.
It's a very complimentary thing, isn't it? If you mention Couch to 5K and parkrun almost in the same breath, so if you do your training with Couch to 5K, and then you can almost segue so that one of your Couch to 5K scheduled runs after you finish the program could be parkrun. and why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, I agree. In fact, actually, this guy who said I was okay, I said, yeah, yeah. He had a charity shirt on, and I said, what are you running for? And he said, oh, I'm running for my son who died 20 years ago as a baby. So this man, his story was he lost his infant son, very, very young. Was obviously had a lot of problems from birth, and 20 years on, he's still running in memory of this little boy, Stephen, I think his name was. It's lovely. And you just had this little moment, me and him. He was worried about my health, and he was running on behalf of the child he lost. It was sweet.
Gosh, yeah, incredible. So have you started to be the person who is telling other people how incredible running is now? Then, Oliver.
I've become a bit of a bore. I've become a lot less sort of factual and useful as you. And yes, I have become that person. I've slightly faded now because my wife is very good at saying, shut up. But what she has done, which has shut me up, she's bought me a vest which is a Kenyan national running vest. So I now run at a speed of about, I don't know, what is it, 35, 36 minutes for a 5K. Not that vastly fast in a Kenyan vest. So not exactly Kipchoge, but she's done
the spirit, yes.
But the spirit. But you do. I mean, that's what you do when you find this thing. It's weird. You can't stop saying, because people go, oh, my knees, and you go, no. And people go, I haven't got time. And you go, no. Or people go, I'm too old. No. You've got an answer for everything when the person is trying to come up with reasons not to run, which is basically what this episode is all about, actually.
Well, it was us.
Entry, get the hell
it
on.
was you. It was me.
It was.
I mean, we ran out of reasons not to run, and then therefore we ran. And that's how we come to be here.
Right. I think that's the perfect way to end this episode on getting going. Let me try and repeat what you just said. You said something like, we ran out of reasons not to run, so we ran. Something like that.
Yeah. Well said.
Thanks, Andrew. Another winner. Like I say, we want to talk about other things as we go through this series, and the idea the next one was I don't know what we're going to probably very succinctly called books, blogs, pods, apps, stats, gadgets, groups, and tips, something like that.
Was it tips you said, by the way?
Tips at the end, yeah.
Good.
That's right. This is very much the Greg Wallace school of podcasting.
Just checking.
I think we're using there. Sponsored by Carry On Running. That's another good idea for a title. So I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for the next one. In the meantime, bye, Andrew.
Bye, Oliver.
And see you later. Bye-bye.
Wow.